Welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This podcast is dedicated and devoted to helping you have this successful accounting, bookkeeping, and tax business. I'm Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center, and I'll be your host. Universal Accounting Center has been around since 1979, offering the accounting training, certifications, coaching, and support for individuals interested in excelling in their careers, specifically starting and building successful accounting businesses. Here at Universal Accounting Center, we have committed individuals to actually help you implement strategies confidently and competently to help you get paid what you're worth. With this podcast, I invite you to listen to our other episodes as well as subscribe and join us for each of these episodes so that you can work on your business, finding the things that you need to do to actually excel in offering the premier accounting services in your area. This podcast is devoted to sharing highlight stories and best practices from individuals that are successfully doing this in their own companies, as well as tips and tricks so that you can actually apply these principles in your company and successfully get paid what you're worth. Now, I'm your host, Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center. I basically have been with the company now for 20 years, president for 5, working with individuals, thousands of whom I've gotten to know over the years, and I'm pleased to say have made friends with. I encourage you to, if you see me at a conference or an event, feel free to introduce yourself, as I'd love to find out more about you, what it is you're doing to obviously excel in your career and make this an excellent profession for yourself. As a accounting professional, one of the things that I would definitely stress is that this can be both fun and exhilarating when done correctly. So just realize that these podcasts are meant to help you apply these tried and proven techniques, strategies, and processes in a way that you can effectively actually have the premier accounting firm in your area. So today we actually will be discussing the principles of M.A.P, specifically that of accounting and the services that you're choosing to provide and offer. The sponsor today is Universal Accounting Center. As a school, we're committed to obviously helping you implement a variety of things to essentially offer with confidence the quality services that you need to obviously get paid what you're worth. So in that context, let's go ahead and begin. And we're going to be talking just real quickly about the principle of M.A.P to introduce this accounting segment. M.A.P is an acronym that you may or may not be familiar with, but let me just introduce it to you as being a specific strategy that you can use in your business to really identify what things you need to be working on to grow your business or deliberately stay engaged with your company so that you can work on your firm. The principles that are found with M.A.P happen to be marketing as the letter M, accounting is the letter A, and P is the letter, or production rather, is the letter P. Accounting is where we're looking at the services that you're providing and what it is you do for your clients to really have them see value in the services that they're paying you to provide each and every month. Now, with regards to the services, what we're going to do here today is have a discussion about what accounting is and how it really should be looked at by you as you're choosing to work with your clients and price the strategies or services that you're providing. So with that all in mind, let me go ahead and dive into a few things here that I think you're going to really want to take notes with. So grab a pen and paper and let's get started. The first thing I'd like to understand is really what it is you're doing. So oftentimes when I speak with accounting firms and we're discussing the services that they provide, they just use generic terms, bookkeeping, accounting, tax. Really what it comes down to is they start to give a laundry list of the tasks that they perform for their clients. It's almost like a to-do list. I do bank reconciliation, I do their payroll. Honestly, this is just, I think, a boring list of things that you do to stay busy, and that's not what the client needs to hear, nor is it how I think you should feel about the work that you're providing. I think there's something more that we can be saying about ourselves, something a lot more exciting and passionate. And so when we look at the services, we want to look at them a little bit more specifically from the point of view of the potential client, the people that we're working for, the people who are paying us. Why is it that they want us to do the accounting? What is it that really is appealing to them about our doing it versus their doing it? Why is it that they turn to you specifically? And as we look at it in that context, what we're going to find is that there are things that are important to them that we may have not considered or maybe even realized. And so one of the things that I want to stress here is, as you consider the services that you're providing, is first of all, look at it through the eyes of what's in it for the person who's actually paying for the service. Why do they have the accounting done? Are they just doing it out of peace of mind because they're looking to say, well, if I'm a business owner, I guess I ought to have my financials in place and it would be important to have those. And I guess it's just something I ought to do. Well, that might be the motivation that they have to pay you. But is it maybe something more? Is it perhaps tax related? Are they just saying, well, I guess I just need the taxes prepared and I know the accounting needs to be done. So in order to file my tax returns, I guess the business needs to have this accounting information. And so I'll pay this individual, you, to take care of that. Well, what we're doing is we're starting to get into the mindset of really what is the business owner thinking? The hope here is, whether they already realize it or they need to be educated to it, is that the accounting can truly be not necessarily a revenue source for them, but definitely a cost savings platform. Now, I have had revenue opportunities with business owners where I've looked at price increases that we can implement because of the numbers that we've produced, to realize maybe the margins aren't correct with the products or services that are being sold. And the accounting information allows us to move into a discussion about what they should be doing about price changes. Perhaps they haven't done anything for the last 2 or 3 or 4 years as a business as to changing their pricing, but yet their vendors have, yet payroll's gone up. They give pay increases on a yearly basis. So what's happened is their prices have remained static for the last number of years, and they haven't done that price change. And here's your chance to say, did you know your margins 3 years ago were, let's say, 20%, and then last year, because of a number of variables, it became 15%, and this year it's 10%. Did you know that? And ultimately what's going to happen is you're going to be recommending things that literally manifest themselves in that top line revenue. This is huge, because all of a sudden what's happening is, through your insights, your information, you've helped the business owner recognize opportunities that they have to make more informed, better business decisions that ultimately led to increasing their revenue. Another place that you could actually look at increasing revenue is you're helping the client recognize that various marketing strategies are either ineffective or extremely effective and should be done more of. And so what's happening is, through the accounting information, you're helping the client understand where they should be spending their dollars for a better return on investment. Think of this. As you're looking at the accounting services that you're providing, it's not the mundane, it's not the task list that you perform that we're selling. What you're doing is you're selling how that information can help your clients be better businessmen, better businesswomen, better business leaders. That's what we're trying to do here. And as an accounting profession, we need to see that our role in offering these accounting services is literally to empower the business client to be more and more effective in their industry. So we're trying to give them an advantage, a leg up on their competition. And that's where we're really going to be making the difference. The passion that you have for what it is you do needs to bleed through into the services you're providing. It needs to be felt by your clients. And that passion is something you need to tap into. So that leads me to my next point here. And it literally is, if someone were to speak with you about your services, what it is you do for a living, are you noticeably excited? Are you obviously someone that is passionate about what it is you do? Now, unfortunately, I've had many conversations with accounting professionals that, just because of their personal demeanor, their own personalities, they're dry, and this is no offense, but you can't see that enthusiasm. Well, I beg of you to try and find how you can communicate that to your clients. It doesn't need to be that sparkle in your eye necessarily. Maybe it's just the enthusiasm because you speak more quickly, or you have a rant that you like to really get into as to how you feel you make a difference. How is it that you choose to demonstrate your enthusiasm for what it is you do for a living? This is something that I think we're trying to tap into as we're addressing this accounting area of the services that you provide, is really, what is it that you're doing for your clients, and can it be demonstrated or communicated to the people you're talking to in a way that they can see that in you? Now, obviously, with regards to accounting services, you're providing the financial reports, you're producing the balance sheet, the income statement, the cash flow statement. All these things are critical, but unless the client knows what the report is for, how it is used, what the information is saying in it, it doesn't matter. There's this cliche statement that I think is really telling and important, but just the statement alone doesn't say enough. I think it's one of those things that's hugely more important than just the words themselves, and it's accounting is the language of business. We've heard it. We know what it means. I mean, the words have context, but really, do you understand what this is trying to say? Accounting is the language of business. When I look at a financial statement, when I'm working with our clients and I'm looking at their income statement, I'm looking at their balance sheet, I'm seeing a story. It's telling me a story. I can see month over month what's happening, and they don't even have to tell me about their sales and what's happening. I can tell them a story from their financial reports, and they'll look at me and they'll say, "My heavens, you're right. That is true. That is right. We spent a lot of money in advertising last month. We spent a lot of time working last month, but the revenue was down. We were hustling, but we weren't selling. We were working hard. We worked overtime, but we were working on this project that was with this particular client that took us away from selling." And all of a sudden, there's a dialogue that starts to happen there, and a relationship is built with the client. Why? Because accounting's a language of business. The company that you're representing in those financials is speaking through those numbers. It's almost as if it's trying to, through that paper, communicate to that business owner, and you're that translator that needs to try and articulate this in a way that the business owner can now understand. So that's what we want to do, is see our role as being that translator. I'm going to give you now two stories that I think illustrate this very, very well. The first one's kind of an emotional one in the sense that I don't mean to offend anyone, but for that, I guess I ask forgiveness. But the context of it is I moved into a community, a neighborhood 20 years ago where I currently live today, and I met two families, each of whom coincidentally had children. One was a sibling of a neighbor, and the other was a child of a neighbor. And these two individuals were deaf. And in both households, I learned something that was quite shocking to me, and it's quite common in the deaf community. So in no way am I trying to say something specific was happening here. This is very common and generic, I guess. And it's to say that the one family, the child, the parents didn't bother to learn sign language, teach the child sign language, or the siblings of that child learn sign language. And in the other household, where it was the sibling I met, they didn't learn sign language, and their family hadn't learned sign language. And so here I am, I'm looking at two households, two families, where I'm learning that in each home there's a deaf child, and yet they raised this child never teaching them sign language or learning sign language. And the intent in both instances was a conscious effort. It was basically their attempt to try and integrate this individual, this child, into a hearing world, a hearing community. They needed to learn how to exist in the world in which they live. And there's this argument of they need to learn how to exist there and succeed or excel there. And it was a conscious effort. It's one that I've later learned is very common. But to me, as a parent, I couldn't understand this. To have a child and not have a way to communicate with them and understand them and emotionally connect with them and learn of their passions, desires, their frustrations. I just couldn't, as a parent, understand that there's a way to communicate, but I wasn't choosing to tap into that and understand this child or a sibling, a brother or sister. My mind was just challenged by this, as you can probably hear in what I'm sharing. But here's the thing that's fascinating to me. When I met these households, The neighbor with the child was 20 something years old, and the parents at this time were now learning sign language. They were going to learn sign language. The importance of sign language had risen as they see their child go out into the deaf community, become independent, go out on their own, and learn sign and use sign to communicate with their peers and involve themselves and engage within the deaf community. They started to see from a distance their child with personality, passion, ambition, and they couldn't communicate effectively enough to understand this. And they were eager to now learn this new language and communicate with their child. And I'm meeting them at this time. So yes, they were communicating and dialoguing, but it was fascinating for me to see that there was a period in their time where as parents, that wasn't a priority. They were more interested in helping to have that child integrate within the hearing community. It was amazing to me that this is going on. The same in the other household. I'm talking to my neighbor who is a sibling of someone who's deaf, and I get to know their family very, very well. I know the parents. We were engaged, very involved with the family, attending family functions together. We were doing activities together, traveling with them. So I know this family, and the same thing occurred here. The child was in their early 20s. They were now out on their own. They were beginning to become involved in the deaf community. And here the parents were eager to learn sign language, communicate with their child. The neighbor that I have, they as adults were now learning sign language so that they could communicate with their siblings, with this sibling. It was fascinating to me. Two independent, unique situations simultaneously going on, each with the same experience. And at a distance, I just was astounded by this. Now, how does this apply to accounting? What does this matter? Right or wrong as to what they did, I actually don't know. But in accounting, I think it's very akin to the business. The business communicates through the numbers. When the numbers are used, it's like a conversation is taking place, and there's a dialogue happening here. The business is trying to express itself. The business is trying to tell us some things. The business is trying to communicate. But if the business owner can't understand this language, we need to step in as an interpreter. Now, through all of this, my daughter has chosen to become an ASL interpreter, an American Sign Language interpreter. She is now finishing her college degree and getting certified as an ASL interpreter, and will choose to do this as a profession, where she will be paid to be this translator, this communicator between the hearing world and the deaf world. This is no different than you. You've gotten your degree, your trainings, your certifications. You've come to the point where you're confident in your ability to do the accounting services. And this is your chance to literally now take and communicate for the business to the business owner the information they need to make better business decisions. You see, I understand that the business owner is very similar to a guardian over a dependent child. Imagine someone with, and I don't mean to single anyone specifically out, but I have some friends that have Down syndrome children. And these children are going to be raised by these parents in their households for the entirety of their lives. I've got one friend of mine, the sibling is nearing 40 years of age, lives still at home, has Down syndrome. Mom and dad are in their 70s, still raising the child. I've got a neighbor, their child is in his 20s. He is a child that will be with them for their entirety. And I've got another neighbor who also has a severe form of autism, and he will be most likely with that family, may be able to live independently, but still the parents are the guardians. These are excellent illustrations of exactly what a business owner is going through as they run the business. The business is, in my opinion, a self-sustaining, living, breathing entity. And the accounting information that you're providing is the means for that business to communicate with the guardian so that the guardian can make the best decisions for the business. And that business owner will always be the guardian, and they're going to be the one signing the checks and making the decisions decisions. They're the ones that create the culture around that company. But ultimately, it's you as the translator to help communicate that business's information through the accounting of the business owner that matters so much. So I beg the question, how often is this conversation happening? Is it a conversation that's happening monthly, quarterly? Is it happening yearly at tax time only? How often are you communicating this information to the business owner? Are you pointing out insights to the business owner that they may not necessarily see related to receivables, payables, cash flow that they need to be aware of so that they can understand the needs of the business? These are based on the ratios that the company has, based on their current ratio, the liquidity ratio. Understand the power of what you can do as an accounting professional. Are you passionate about this? Is this something that when you meet with a business owner, they can see, I'm missing something here? It's like having a dependent child that for some reason you've not yet connected with, and all of a sudden you bring to them a light that they didn't otherwise see. This is powerful. This enthusiasm is what I feel as an accounting profession we need to be bringing to the accounting community. We need to be bringing it to our clients. Why? Because it's truth. That's what we're talking about here. So with accounting, the second story that I wanted to share is really one that I think is equally important. And it's basically within accounting, do you understand that as an accounting professional, you have a chance here to really become that trusted advisor, that confidant, that person that they lean on the most? They're sharing with you things that their spouses don't know, that their employees don't know. It's possible that as that business owner is dealing with stresses related to cash flow or payroll or maybe buying equipment or opening a new office or bringing online a new product line, that they're dealing with stresses that you're the only one privy to. You're the only one aware of them. You're the only one that can ask the questions about them and have that conversation. I'm hoping that you're recognizing that this is your opportunity to really become that important person in their life that they see as integral to the success of their business. This is your chance to move beyond just offering accounting services, but become that trusted strategic advisor, that business coach. But are you in a position where you comfortably and confidently can meet that role? Do you feel yourself skilled or trained enough to be able to be more than just a friend or a listening ear? That's the challenge that I'd like you to rise to and recognize that you have a chance to become for them an integral part of their success because they see in you that coach, that resource that they've been needing all along. So I fortunately have had the opportunity to, beyond accounting services, offer coaching services. And it's only because I have access to the accounting information that I'm able to take this step forward, this next leap ahead in the services offered. And it's because of that that I'm able to get into the more sexy part of our work, the more intriguing, the more passionate side of the business, and be for them this trusted coach. Now, I want you to understand that a coach is a unique word. Coach, if I say the word Cinderella, what comes to mind with coach? Cinderella, coach, Cinderella, coach. It's the pumpkin that's turned into the stagecoach that she uses to get to the ball. It's what brings her home. It is a means to go from A to B. It's a way to move comfortably and conveniently. It's a way to move efficiently to that new area. And with a nicer coach, it's something that's fun and enjoyable. Well, that's one way of looking at coaching. If you look back at coaching regarding maybe in your history working with a debate coach or in school you maybe had a coach, a mentor that you worked with. Maybe in athletics you had a soccer coach, a softball coach, a football coach, a track coach that as a coach was able to push you beyond what you thought was possible, that was able to ask of you more than you thought you had in you, that was able to inspire you to go beyond what you had originally hoped to achieve, and now they're pushing you to do more. Everyone that is ultimately the top of their game, the successful people, all have coaches. The coach can bring a perspective that otherwise isn't obvious because we can't see within ourselves. It takes a mirror, and the mirror is an inanimate object. You need a person to look at and give you some critiques and some insights that aren't otherwise obvious. So to become that coach, it's a deliberate process, and it's something that you can do. It is possible. There are processes and systems that you can use to step into this role. But the challenge I give to you is, as an accounting professional, are you up to taking that step to become that type of consultant to your clientele? Is that a service you're willing to offer? Is it something that would excite you to do? Oftentimes when I'm working with accounting professionals, they're itching to do it because after doing accounting for 15 years, 20 years with their clients, they've seen or observed or noticed things that they would have loved or still want to tell their clients, but they don't know how. They don't know if it's their place. They don't know, I'm not paid to do this. Why would I do this? Whatever the justification is, I'm challenging you to look at becoming more than that accountant and really embrace what I feel the accounting profession needs to be doing. And that is better servicing our clients to now take this information that they have and help them make better decisions. Now, what is it to be a great coach? A great coach isn't to be the expert with all the answers. It is to be the expert with the right questions. When trained correctly, a true coach knows what questions to ask, and the better questions asked lead to the best information. The expert in the room is truly the business owner. They know their business. They should know their business. And in my opinion, because of the mantle they have as the owner, they will be in tune for the inspiration, the direction, the insights that they need to take and move their business forward when you spur them forward with the questions you're asking. So that's the first thing. The second thing a great coach is they're great at the accountability, asking the right questions, and then holding you accountable based on the timelines and the priorities that are based or are identified. So as a great coach, ask the right questions and things are revealed and information is identified. Decisions are then made, timelines are then decided upon, and then the coaches holds them accountable. See, the unique thing about an entrepreneur, a business owner, is they're accountable to no one but themselves. They may have shareholders, they may have investors, but in a very true sense, they can procrastinate just like anyone else. They can have life come in and push them to do things otherwise. And what we want to do as a coach is help them accomplish more in a shorter period of time than they otherwise would have done on their own. And that's where the true value of a coach comes in. And my story to that is simply working with business owners. I've seen so many times where they have come in and thanked me for just those insights that were really their doing. And I think that's such a rewarding experience. It's time and time again having that opportunity to work with the business owner in such a way that just because I asked the right questions and then was so bold as to hold them accountable to the next time we met, did you do what you said was so important, really made a huge difference. So with that in mind, I'd like to pause right now and mention our sponsor again, that of Universal Accounting Center. Universal Accounting Center as a school helps accounting professionals offer the quality accounting services that they need to. And for that, we actually have a program called the Profit and Growth Expert Program. Cash flow is oftentimes the premier or primary problem faced by small businesses. And as cash flow is such a critical component of running the business, becoming a profit and growth experts ensure that you actually have the tools, the means, and the training to, as their coach, work them through these issues related to cash flow. See what you can do to actually become a profit and growth expert. Enroll now and become certified as a PGE, and with that skill set, offer quality coaching services related to cash flow management. So with that in mind, let me just address something else with regards to this story of accounting services. Working with accounting owners, business owners, I have been astounded and amazed how often they really don't understand what a profit or loss and income statement is for, what a balance sheet is saying. They struggle to really see the worth of what this is. It's almost like taking a document that's written in a foreign language, and let's say it's Egyptian, where it has figures, or it's Chinese or Japanese, where it's kanji, and all of a sudden these figures represent more than just a word. They represent a phrase, or they represent a thought, a context. Well, that's what's going on with the accounting information. When you take a kanji and you see that kanji actually represents more than just a simple image, it represents a concept, a phrase. All of a sudden, what's happening here is that accounting information, that number is more than just a single number. It's saying a ton of things. And what we want to do is recognize that here's your chance to help educate the business owners to the value and the worth of what these numbers are. And so my story is, I was working with a business owner just the other day, came in as a client, and he was embarrassed to produce his financials. We don't do the accounting for him. We're doing the business coaching. And as he brings in his financials, I ask him to explain, basically starting at the top with the P&L, what's going on with the revenue? Where does the business owner really make his money? Tell me about these products that you have. And I already at this point knew a lot about the business, but I was wanting the context of the P&L statement to be there. And it was very clear that products that were sold weren't clearly delineated. There wasn't a line item dedicated to that. So there was a lot of story that was missing from the document that I really wanted to encourage them to start telling in the document. Well, through this process, after meeting with them over the course of a number of weeks, you can see that now all of a sudden this document that meant nothing to them, they didn't know how to read or interpret it, now is becoming a critical part of their business, because they see in that document the black and white print of the efforts that they've put in over the course of a month. This is powerful and it's very encouraging. So what I'm doing here is helping you recognize that in this MAP analogy of mapping your business, how critically important it is that you identify the accounting services that you provide. And it's more than just the tasks that you perform. It's getting beyond, again, I do bank reconciliation, I do payroll, I do financial reports. It's getting into that thing that really invigorates and energizes you and makes a difference ultimately in the clients that you're serving. The thing that I want to stress here is accounting is fun. Accounting can make a difference. You can have an impact. Earlier, I was talking about how you can make a difference on the top line, the revenue. Well, let's go down into the expenses. Let's look at cash flow. What are those things that you can be doing there? Cash flow is very obvious. It's basically the relationship between receivables and payables. Are you collecting the money fast enough? Are you deferring the payments long enough? It's really that relationship, and it's helping the business owner get on top of that. They're consumed by just doing the work. Many of them, and I'm sure some of you can relate to this, many of them struggle to just sit their butts down and write out an invoice to submit to the client so that they can get paid. They're so busy with work upon work upon work that it takes them days to actually sit down and write out invoices to submit for payment. This is ridiculous. Cash flow, no wonder it's a problem. They don't have a system, a process in place to get the receivables coming in. They need to manage this more effectively, and it's you coming in and calling them on this that's really going to get them to realize this is costing them money. When you have a business owner that takes days or weeks to prepare an invoice, what's the customer on the other end thinking? Well, obviously they don't need the money. If they needed the money, I would have gotten the invoice the day of, if not the day after. They don't need the money because it's been 2 weeks, so I'll take 2 weeks to pay them. But the reality of the matter was the person sat down and probably did the invoice because they needed the money right then. Well, the business owner communicated that the money wasn't needed to the client. The client then takes an additional 2 or 3 weeks to pay the bill because obviously it wasn't important. The invoice took 2 weeks to arrive. The madness that we're talking about here is incredible. So what we need to do is, as business owners, accountants, is help the business owners understand that there are things that they can deliberately do to impact their cash flow. Look at expenses. There are things in there that I bet if you question why things are in place, they would really start to wonder, why am I paying that bill? Why am I spending that money? Is there a better way to do this? One of the things that I can definitely share is that I was working with a controller a while ago. Actually, this is years ago. And he prided himself on year after year what he could do with the contract relationships that he had to save money. He was looking at every one of the agreements. And anytime something came up to be renewed, it's what could he do to increase the benefit of whatever that contract was paying for, say like an internet provider or rent or whatever. What additional services could he get out of that payment that he was making? Or better said, what could he do to lower the payment? Could he shop around and get a better quote, another bid that would save money? And so his challenge was year over year, what could he do to lower expenses? And more importantly, identify things that he could do to improve the margins that were going on in there in relationship to the revenue coming in. Well, these things are powerful, and it's not necessarily that you're actually the one physically doing all this, but as you're working with your client, are you asking the right questions to cause them to basically prioritize where are those cost-saving opportunities within their expenses? This is fun. This is exciting. What we do for a living is impactful. You can make a difference with the clients. And so what we want to do is recognize that in this area of accounting services, when you're out looking at what you're selling, can you tell this in a compelling way that allows people to see your passion for what it is you do? Can you help them realize that what you're doing is more than just providing papers with numbers, that literally these numbers can make a difference in the businesses that you're actually working with as clients? You're going to get referrals because of this. You're going to get clients that are going to better appreciate your services. They're going to pay you more for your services. They're going to do more with you because of these things. Why? Because you're actually passionate about what you do. Now, the next thing I'd like to address regarding accounting services is basically related to when you're working with the client, are they fully aware of everything you do? And what I mean by that is oftentimes you'll take on a client that this year you're offering bookkeeping services. Maybe this year you did or didn't offer tax services, but let's add tax services in. Well, is that client clearly aware that you're now doing or have always done tax services? Are you explaining the accounting services that you offer? Are you offering tax services? This is all very important because oftentimes the client will initially engage with you and pay you for your services based on need. They need this, they're going to get this, they're going to pay for this. But after time, they're going to come through you doing the work to realize that you're good at what you do, you're passionate about what you do. What else more do you do? Well, they don't know this until you start to share it. So I think it's appropriate to, at least on a yearly basis, if not more often, sit down with the client and revisit what is it that you do for them or can do for them so that there's additional services identified that you can use to increase the revenue you're generating from each client. On this, I also challenge you year over year, what service aren't you charging for or aren't you now providing that you can or should be providing? This is a great opportunity for you to say, this year I'm doing bookkeeping, I'm going to do next year tax, next year after that I'm going to do accounting, next year after that I'm going to do consulting. It's building your business so that you're actually now year over year offering more services, adding a new revenue stream to what it is you do, increasing the revenue per client because they're paying more for services that you're providing. And therefore, as a business, year over year, you're generating more top-line revenue because of additional services or increasing the value with those related services so that you can charge more. So I've said a few things here that some people might have noticed, and I'm going to clarify them. The next thing I'm going to do here is just try and clarify our own terminologies related to bookkeeping, accounting, and tax. You've heard me use those words. I think it's appropriate in this group with this podcast to assume you know what those words are, but I am going to challenge you right now and say, do you really? And do you understand this in such a way that you can describe them appropriately to your potential client base, an outsider, someone that isn't in the accounting profession, such that they can understand the difference between an accountant or bookkeeper? Just yesterday, I had a conversation where we were discussing whether or not we needed to have in our networking group a member, and it was to fill a category of of accounting, to have a person in our group that offers accounting services. I'm the business coach in the group. Someone offering accounting services, and one individual said, yeah, shouldn't we get a CPA? And I said, no, it doesn't have to be a CPA. Someone can fill that role as either a bookkeeper, an accountant, or CPA. And they said, I don't understand the difference. What's the difference? So my question to you is, first, haven't you had that question asked of you before? What is the difference between a bookkeeper, an accountant, a tax preparer? Well, there is a difference, and there's an easy way to describe this. And so what I want to do is I want to have you, and I'm hoping you've got a piece of paper and pen in hand, and I'm going to probably challenge a paradigm here that many of you may already have, and this is going to be good. So for years, I've had this conversation with accounting professionals, and I'm usually shocked at how they choose to describe it. Typically, what they'll say is a bookkeeper is someone that doesn't have an accounting degree, someone who has an accounting degree is an accountant, and somebody who's a CPA is registered or licensed by the state. Okay, that's a definition. I don't subscribe to that. I don't believe that, but it is a definition. I can see it described that way. In some states, they actually have gone through lobbying to the extent that they've made it such that an accountant is, by definition, defined as a CPA. I disagree with that on a number of levels, but whether you agree with me or not, I don't know. But let's really make this so that the layperson can understand it and we can be more true to ourselves as accounting professionals. The way I'd describe it is I'd like you to draw an umbrella, an arc on your piece of paper. And under that arc, I'd like you to write down things such as chart of accounts, payables, receivables, recording transactions. It's basically all the work that goes into preparing the financial reports. Underneath that arc, I want you to just write the word, just basically following the arc, write the word bookkeeping. What a bookkeeper does is literally record and create all of that so that it creates the financial reports. They're recording the transactions, producing the income statement, the balance sheet, the cash flow. That's what a bookkeeper does. And their role in that bookkeeping process ends there. Their job is to produce those reports, have them be accurate, and then they're complete and they're finished. An accountant takes it another step. Now, an accountant can do bookkeeping. An accountant can be one that actually prepares the financial reports and records all those transactions. But what an accountant does that is beyond the bookkeeper, write the word accountant or accounting on top of the umbrella, they're over the bookkeeper, is they're the one who takes now the accounting information, those financial reports, and interprets them, draws conclusions with them, brings attention to the business owner of what the reports are saying. That's the accounting. Accounting is now the budgeting, the forecasting. It's going so far as to actually now make the numbers relevant and give it context. It's looking at the ratios, the current ratios, liquidity ratios. That's what accounting is. Can a bookkeeper do accounting? Of course, yes. I've met many accounting professionals who literally have been doing this for years upon years and are very, very, very good at what they do. They are very passionate at what they do. But did they perhaps get a 4-year degree? Probably not. Are they CPAs? No. But are they offering accounting services? By definition, yes, they are. And they are working with their clients accordingly, and they're helping them with that information. They're interpreting the data. But I have met also many accounting professionals who call themselves accountants, say they do accounting, and as a disgrace, they don't meet with their clients. They don't do the interpretation of the data. They don't provide that additional information regarding the financial reports. Shame on them for going to the point of implying and charging for accounting services to merely do what the bookkeeper does and provide financial reports and walk out of the office and not meet with the client and help them understand what the business is trying to communicate and say. That's where I think a huge failing exists. Now, a CPA can do one thing that the others cannot. The CPA can audit the financials. But oftentimes I meet with CPAs that are CPAs, but they choose not to do audit work. They choose not to offer audit services. What they do is accounting work. They do bookkeeping work. Now, I don't mind that they're a CPA and choose not to do auditing work. But my point is I've met many CPAs that intentionally don't put on their bookkeeping or on their business card or in their marketing that they are a CPA, because they're not interested in offering the auditing services, and they don't want to imply that their services are too expensive because they want to work with small businesses offering simply the accounting and bookkeeping services that they want to do. This is powerful, and I think what that's helpful to realize is this is an easy way then to communicate to a business owner what the difference is. A business owner who says, well, I thought I needed to work with a CPA, could benefit from this education of knowing, well, are you just wanting someone to prepare the financial reports for you, or would you like someone to interpret these things and give them the context that you need to make more informed business decisions? If that's the case, then ultimately you need an accountant, not a bookkeeper. These things are very helpful for an accountant or for a business owner to see then what services they ultimately need from you. Now, if you're a business owner paying a CPA to do your books, that CPA can't do the audit of the books because they're the one preparing the books. They're going to have to pay another CPA to do the audit. So this context is all very, very important within our accounting profession to help the business owner understand with whom should I be working and what is the service I'm paying for. Am I just paying for bookkeeping to be done? Am I paying for accounting to be done? This is, I think, I truly believe, a very important delineation that we need to have within the accounting profession to help us better explain our services as well as charge for our services. Are you charging for bookkeeping services? Are you charging for accounting services? Are you an accountant doing accounting work? Are you an accountant merely doing bookkeeping work? Are you a CPA just doing bookkeeping work? Are you a fruit or are you a banana? Because an apple isn't a banana, but an apple is a fruit. Do you get the context? Does this make sense? I think this is starting to resonate. So all of this in mind, basically, I challenge you to do this. Look introspectively at the services that you're providing. What are you passionate about? How are you truly making a difference for your clients? What is it that you actually do? What are you having them pay you to do? And with that in mind, where can you really make a difference for your clients? I invite you to become passionate again about the services that you're providing. I invite you to engage with your clients at a newer, higher level. This is no longer a commodity where they're paying for a report. This is something that you can use to help them see greater value in the numbers that you're producing so that they can make better informed business decisions. My enthusiasm for this should be your enthusiasm. Let's embrace the accounting profession. Let's make a difference. And most importantly, see what it is that we can do to really make accounting the profession it ought to be, where we make business owners, small business owners, excel and literally appreciate the accounting services that we provide. As our sponsor with Universal Accounting Center, let me just basically stress again your opportunity to get the book Red to Black. Red to Black is an accountant's guide to help you implement cash flow strategies so that you can literally become the profit and growth expert for your clients. I encourage you to read the book Red to Black, and with Red to Black, literally see what it is you can do to bring quality services to your clients to help them manage their cash flow more effectively. Now, with that in mind, let me just kind of recap what we're looking at here. Accounting is more than just the transactions we perform. It is the quality of services that we're providing. Once it is clear in your mind what it is you're doing and how your clients benefit from what it is you do, you can again become passionate about what you're doing. It helps you with your marketing and selling so that you can actually stand out as being the premier accounting firm in your area. And more importantly, it helps you actually retain your clients better as they appreciate the services that you're providing, ultimately allowing you to charge top dollar for the services that you're offering because you are now making a difference in your clients' work. Understand this. Accounting success is universal. I invite you to find out more about Universal Accounting Center by visiting us at universalaccountingschool.com. I also invite you to listen to some of our other episodes as well as subscribing to our podcast to make the most of this and at the same time apply these principles in your business so that you can have the premier accounting firm in your area. Do take care. Have a wonderful day. And remember this, if it's about accounting, it is universal. Give us a phone call, 801-265-3777. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.